I've been using this bandsaw. This is a Sears Craftsman for about 20 years, and I finally had to change out the thrust bearing because it was froze up. So now I have to adjust the thrust bearing and the blade guides, top and bottom, because they're off. I never even thought about adjusting them all these years. So I need to do some adjustments on it now. And first thing I'm going to do is take off the tabletop. Give me more room to work on those adjustments. Tabletop off. You got this nut right here on this handle that comes off. Now you loosen this if you want to cut at angles also. So you can move that around. But I need to take it all the way off to get to these thrust bearings. So you just unscrew it all the way. It's got a spacer and a washer. That's it. Then it just comes right off. Now I can get to the adjustments easier. And take off the front cover. That would help. Pull by those clips. Now hold this on. And it comes right off. Okay, now I'm ready to make the adjustments on the bottom guide and the top guide. And also check my travel on the blade. It looks like it's off a little bit. You can adjust that with this nut here, this screw here. It pivots. That's not supposed to be hitting, and it's hitting there. This is too far away from the blade. Should be almost touching it. So when you push your wood on there, it touches the bearing and moves it, but it's not even touching. Take this cover off. And you don't have to unscrew it all the way, just loosen it. It's a slot. That one's too far this way. And this is too close on this side. It's been like that for 20 years. I never thought about it till I had to change that thrust bearing out. Unfortunately, I saved manuals on any tools I have. But it probably doesn't matter these days. You can look up any manual you need just doing a Google search. The book tells you to raise this upper blade guide up about 3 inches. I don't know why, but I guess I'll do it. This is the bolt that holds it. It's about 3 inches. I need to make adjustments on most of this, so I'm going to loosen all the set screws. Okay, I got everything loosened up. Now this guide needs to be in the center. Right now it's too far in that way. It's got to come out. And this knob right here adjusts the guide in and out. So I need to push it out. Using this knob here. This is for the bearing. This one is for the guide. Okay, it's about in the center now. Now, I got to adjust these other part of the guide to where there's a 1/8 of an inch gap. This one's hitting. So I need to move them. I need to tighten this where it won't go in and out anymore, and then adjust this other part of the guide. So let me tighten this one back to where it don't move. This screw is for this part of the movement of the guides. Now, these screws underneath here are for these other little guides that squeeze together or separate, whatever you need to do. Right now I need to push this one out because it's too close. Too loose. I gotta tighten this so it's not moving around too much. Okay, it's about a 1/16 of an inch on that side. Right there is good. Tighten up the Allen screws that's holding it. They're up underneath on the bottom. One here and one here. get this on there, it's like at an angle under here. Well, there it is. Okay. You don't want to move these either while you're tightening them. So I'm going to have to check it again. Alright. Now I need to adjust the thrust bearing. The Allen screw for it is in the back. That's loosened already. And this upper knob is your thrust bearing adjustment. See that space? It's too much. You want to adjust the thrust bearing to where it's barely missing, not touching the blade. But, so it's not touching. But when you push on your piece of wood to make a cut, you see the bearing's turning. It's supporting the blade. And then when you let go, it's not turning. I'm going to bring it in just a little more. Okay. Push it in, and it's touching the bearing, and then it spins. When you let go, it's not turning. That's where I want it. So now I can tighten it, screw back up. Okay, it's tight. Okay, so now the upper guide and thrust bearing has been adjusted. Now I need to do the lower thrust bearing and blade guide. Okay, now I'm going to adjust the lower blade guides. This is your blade guide adjustment knob in the back, the bottom one, so the bottom. That moves this in and out. This direction is way off. See how far out the blade is? And this is too far in that way. So I need to bring this out to the middle. Right there. Now I need to retighten the Allen screw that holds this in place. Alright. Now I need to adjust the blade guides. These two parts to an 1/8 of an inch gap. I find the best way to do it is moving the blade. I have to push this one in this way. It's about an 1/8 inch. Now I tighten the Allen screws up again. Keep it from moving. Alright, those look good. And now I need to adjust the lower thrust bearing. It's too tight against it. It's already pushing the blade out this way. And if you turn the blade, the bearing is already turning. It's not supposed to turn until your piece of wood is pushing against it. So this knob here moves it, thrust bearing in and out. Got me a helicopter coming over. It's an emergency helicopter coming from the hospital all day. So this knob adjusts it. So I need to back the bearing out away from the blade. And now I need to move the bearing just barely touching the blade. Now let's see if it moves. Okay, it's not moving. Well, it is a little bit, so I got to move it again. Back it off. Back it off till it's not touching the blade's not touching the bearing. Okay, the bearing stopped moving. So now when you push your wood onto the blade, it should push against the bearing and then start moving. Don't worry, I'm just barely pushing. I don't want to cut myself. Need to put it a little bit tighter. Right there. Push against the blade. And it hits the bearing and the bearing starts turning. That's what I want. See that? Okay, now I'm going to tighten that screw again. And this is your tension knob. I got an 1/8 of an inch blade on here. So it's very simple. They have numbers written on there for whatever size blade you have. So I moved this tension knob pointer to an 1/8 inch. And that gives it the tension, the factory recommended tension. So now we can look at the blade tracking. I'm not going to make any adjustments on it because it's good. but I'm going to show you how it works. This screw tilts the wheel out or in, and according to whether your blade is coming off this way, out, or in, if the blade moves towards the front of the bandsaw, turn the tracking adjustment screw clockwise, about a quarter turn. If the blade moves towards the back of the bandsaw, turn the tracking adjustment screw counterclockwise. So this adjustment makes your reel go in or out, back or forward. And that's it. Now I'm just going to put everything back together. First I'm going to put the tabletop back on. Line the bolts back up. And the two dowels with it lets you adjust your angle. Washer goes on first. I'm going to have to hold this on and push that bolt out. Then the handle, and then a spacer, and then a nut, gotta just keep tightening it till it's all the way down. Kind of like a ratchet. Alright, that's tight, and the tabletop is put back on. And then this plate. It only goes on one way. You have a slot. Double check everything. Now I need to put the main cover back on. These clips, hold it on, you have to just snap those clips. Snap the cover on these clips, there's 4 of them. Alright, we're ready to cut some wood. Now comes the final test, cutting some wood. Looks good, working good. Nice and smooth cut. Thank you, Lord.